All right, guys, here are the 5-3 notes, okay? Factoring trinomials. So we started this in 5-2, and we're going to continue it. Like we talked about, factoring is a very big deal, so we've got to practice and get really, really good at it, all right? All right, so fill the box, factor the box, all right? So I know if this is my trinomial, that this box has to be x squared, and this one's got to be negative 30. So then I've got to get my other two, okay, my other two. Well, they must have a product of negative 30 s squared and a sum of negative 13s, okay? So I'm thinking about two numbers that would multiply and give me negative 30s squared and add to give me negative 13s, all right? And obviously they both have s in it, so I just want to focus on the numbers, all right? So negative 30 is my product, negative 13 is my sum, product and sum, multiply and add. Okay, so let's think about first the signs, all right? In order to multiply to give me a negative, one's got to be negative, one's got to be positive. In order to add to be a negative, one's got to be negative, one's got to be positive, and the larger one has to be negative. So I typically go small to large, so 1 and 30, okay? That does not add to 13. 2 and 15, well, if I look at 2 and negative 15, that actually adds to negative 13. Okay, so in my box, I get to fill my box with 2s and negative 15s. Okay, so fill the box, factor the box. Well, greatest common factor of each row, each column. So this is s. This would be a negative 15. This would be s, and this would be 2. So my factors are s plus 2 and s minus 15, okay? Fill the box, factor the box, and we get our factors, all right? All right, let's look at number 2, okay? So first check for greatest common factor. Well, there's not a greatest common factor, so I'm going to fill up my box. This is my 5q squared. This is 5. I need numbers that have a product of 25q squared and a sum of negative 3q. So a product of 25 and a sum of negative 3. Okay. Well, in order for them to multiply to give me a positive number and add to be a negative, they both have to be negative. Okay, so let's go through the factors. So 1 and 25 don't. 2 doesn't go into it. 3 doesn't go into it. 4 doesn't go into it. The only other factors of 25 are 5 and 5. And negative 5 and plus negative 5 does not equal negative 3. So what happens is this one cannot be factored. Okay, so we say it is prime, which means cannot be factored anymore, or is already factored, or it's just prime. We can't factor it anymore. All right. All right, let's look at number 3. Okay, so we have 2r squared plus 3r minus 14. First greatest common factor. There is not a greatest common factor. Okay, so then we fill the box, factor the box. So fill up my box. So this is 2r squared. This is negative 14. Product is going to be negative 28r squared, and my sum is 3r. Again, I'm kind of ignoring the r's until I put them back in the box, all right? So I have a product of negative 28 and a sum of 3, okay? In order to multiply to give us a negative, one's got to be negative, one's got to be positive. For them to add to be a positive, the larger one's got to be positive. So small number is negative, larger number positive. Okay, so I'm going to go through my factors. So 1 and 28 doesn't add to 3, or have, in this case, kind of a difference. 2 and 14 doesn't add to 3. 3 doesn't go into 28. 4 goes into 28 7 times. And that has a difference of 3. Negative 4 and a positive 7 does add to a positive 3. So those are my numbers. So I'll use those to fill the box. Negative 4, put an r in there. 7, put an r in there. Okay. Fill the box, factor the box. So we factor the box, each row. 2r is the GCF of that row. 7's the GCF of that row. R is the GCF of that column, and -2 is the GCF of that column. So my factors are 2x plus 7, r minus 2. Remember, you should always be checking these so that you know you've got it right. Okay. All right, let's look at number 4. Okay, greatest common factor. There's not a greatest common factor. All right, so we're going to start with the box. Fill the box, factor the box. Hopefully you're recognizing the strategies. You just have to be able to reproduce them on your own. So that's 10y squared. This would be 7. I need numbers that have a product of 70y squared. Oh my gosh, that's a big number. And a sum of -19y. So product of 70, multiply to give me 70, add to give me -19. In order to multiply to produce a positive and add to be a negative, both numbers have to be negative. Okay, so you go through your factors. So 1 and 70, 2 and 35. Okay, 3 doesn't go into it, 4 doesn't go into it, 5 goes into it 14 times. So 5 and 14 looks like 19, it adds to 19. So my numbers are -5 and -4. So I have -5, put a y, or not -4, -14, put a y. The box is filled, factor it. Okay, so here I'd have 5y. Here I would have -7. Remember, both these diagonal boxes are negative, then both my numeral factors will be negative. This column 2y and -1. So my factors are 2y minus 1 and 5y minus 7. Okay. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, so number 5. Oh no, there's a y in there. You know what? That's okay. We can handle it. You still follow the same process, all right? First, check for a greatest common factor. There's not a greatest common factor, all right? So we're just going to do the same thing. Fill it up, factor it. Okay, so this would be 4y squared. This would be -3x squared. So we need a product of -12x squared y squared and a sum of 4xy. Okay, so we know they're going to have to add to be 4xy, so I'm kind of going to just ignore my variables for a second. All right, just look at the numbers. So I got -12 and 4. Product of -12, sum of 4. Well, in order to multiply to produce a negative, one's negative, one's positive. And then those two numbers get added and it's positive, then the smaller one has to be negative, the larger one positive. So 1 and 12 doesn't work. 2 and 6. That adds to 4 if it's -2, +6. So those are my numbers. And then I'm going to put xy into the box. So I've got -2xy and 6xy into my box. All right, then I'm going to factor the GCF of each row and each column. So this first row is 2y, only 2y. The second row will be 3x, only 3x. Okay, and then this first column would be 2y. And then the second column is -x, all right? And then so that would leave me with 2y minus x as a factor, 2y plus 3x is a factor. And you can see just by looking at your box that it works, okay? If you use the box to factor, you use the box to check it, all right? All right, I want you to pause the video and I want you to go ahead and do 6 and 7 and see if you can get those right. Okay, when you get them done, hit play, then you can check your answers. All right, so hit pause now. All right, hopefully you got them right. I'm going to go through these so that hopefully you can see why those are the answers. So we need two numbers that would multiply to give us u squared v squared, so basically 1 u squared v squared, and then add to give us 2. Well, that's pretty easy, 1 and 1, okay? And it has to be uv, so 1 uv and 1 uv factor, so I get a u and a v, and then I get a u and a v, and this is u plus v times u, plus v. You could also see this written as u plus v squared since they are the same factors. Okay. All right, last one, k and n, fill it up, factor the box. 5k squared here, negative 2n squared here. We're looking for numbers that multiply to give us negative 10n squared k squared, and add to give us 3 nk or kn. It doesn't really matter. We'll do kn. So negative 10 is the product and 3 is the sum. The small number must be negative 3. Small number is positive, large number is negative. 1 and 10, that doesn't work. 2 and 5, there's my winner. 2 and negative 5, so I'm going to do 2. Kn, negative 5, Kn. Factor the box. This would be a k. That would be a negative n. Here we'd have 5k, and then here we have 2n. So our factors are 5k plus 2n. K minus n is my other factor. And again, look at your box. Check it. All right. Talk to you guys later.